change in your run form, this video should help you. My name is Steve Gonza, physical therapist with Run Smart Online. I am secretly shooting in my car, hoping that no one sees me because I'm picking my kids up from school, and I got to figure out how to shut that off, which I think I just did. And what I want to talk to you guys today about is how do you improve your run form for lasting change. A lot of the runners I work with come in and they're frustrated, they're confused on what they should be doing. They've gone through Google to learn everything they can about run form, and it usually results in no change. Now, before I get started, if you're interested in having us look at your run form, showing you exactly what you do, what you need to work on, and how to do it, go to the link in this post. We have a 20% off offer for our Run Smart analysis that we only offer once a year. So there's a link in this post to that. But what I want to talk to you today about are big rocks. Big rocks are the things that you need to get your big rocks out of the way. And these big rocks create the most change for runners. So if you get these big, my phone just cut out, but the big rocks are, I think I got like an Amber Alert or something on my phone. I don't know what's going on. But big rocks are things that if you get them out of the way, you make the most bang for your buck, the most change. Most runners are dabbling with, like, what's my cadence? What's my step length? They got watches that are measuring every breath and every foot strike, and they get lost in the weeds a lot of times. So I want to cover what the big rocks are for you and what you can be focused on. What you really also need to know is that when you're changing your run form, I always talk about runners that have become efficient at being inefficient. So even if your run form is like Phoebe Buffay through the park, someone hit me with a Phoebe Buffay gif in the comments. But even if your run form's like Phoebe Buffay, running through Central Park, if you did that long enough, it would become natural. It would feel right. It would feel like second nature to you, because if you do something repetitively enough, even if it's inefficient, even if it's completely the wrong form, it'll eventually feel normal, because your body and your brain, the mind and the muscle connection will just make that an efficient process. And that's where a lot of runners get stuck and they give up too early. So the first thing you want to do is, one, identify your big rocks. I'll let you know what the big rocks are in a second that we often see. But you want to next be very simple in your approach. Too often runners are trying to tackle many things at once. And most ladies can say this is true, but multitasking is not the male gender's strong suit. But in reality, when it comes to run form, no one should be trying to multitask. You should be focusing on one thing and one thing only each time. So let's say your foot strike is off. You should be working on your foot strike. Another notification. You should be working on your foot strike and your foot strike only until you can rewire that habit and you can make it better. Now, the longer you've been running, the more drastic the change is, the harder it is to correct, because every step you take ingrains that habit. So if your big rock is the way that your foot hits the ground and your strike of your foot, and you've been running for 20 years, that habit is hard to break. It takes some time. So what I can tell you is you need to be consistent, and you can't be working on foot strike, cadence, arm position, shoulder position, all these things all at once. You need to just focus on one thing. And when it comes to learning this stuff and learning how to change your form, consistency and persistence is key. Now, I shared a research article a couple lives ago that it takes the average person, I can't remember the exact time frame, but I think it's 10 weeks of consistent training to learn a new habit. A lot of people think it's 21 days, and when I actually looked into this, the 21-day mark is for people who had plastic surgery, and within 21 days they felt better about themselves after plastic surgery. When we're talking about rewiring movement, it's actually like 10 weeks. And if you've been ingrained with this really bad habit for running for 10, 20, 30 years, even 5 years, even a year, it's hard to break sometimes. So focus on one thing, give it some time and consistency, and I think that's what you're going to really be focused on. Before I forget, if you want help with your run form, identifying these things and how to work on them, there's a link in this post that can lead you to something we have going on. The final thing I want to say is, what are the big rocks? What do we see most often that people need to work on? Number one is foot strike. How their foot these aren't in any kind of specific order. It's really individualized to the person. But one of the things is always working on foot strike. If you're a way over strider, you look at race photos, you're like, am I walking or am I running? That's what we're talking about there. The sun's giving me this awesome like shine off my head. That's what we're talking about there. And the second thing is imbalance, right versus left imbalance. I'm going to go live tomorrow and show you some runners who are imbalanced in their running, and they have strength differences from side to side. Imagine for a second you wanted to run a 10-minute mile and your right leg can only run an 11. What does that mean for your left leg? If you try to push and work harder, your strong leg is going to have to make up the difference and run harder. A lot of that imbalance from right to left causes issues. It's one of the things we look at in analysis to see if one side's a lot weaker than the other. You can actually see it when someone's running. Just like, oh my, all our people who do this look at it and go, oh my God, like, look at that. I can't believe that's happening. So we have foot strike. We have right and left imbalance, whether it's strength or flexibility. And the third thing that I think is really important for people to think about is, do they shuffle? Do they scuff? And if you constantly hear your feet scuffing the ground, your foot's hitting your other leg on swing through, the shuffling, the scuffing is really the next thing that people should be looking at. Those three things alone count for the majority of issues. And then once you address those issues, you can get into the weeds. You can look at arm position. You can look at trunk rotation, forward lean, those type of things come next. You get into those smaller rocks. And I think that's the important thing to know. So as a high level recap, if you're just joining me, if you're going to fix your run form, you should be focusing on one thing only at a time. And if you're going to fix your run form, you need to give it time, because on average, it takes anywhere between 8 to 10 weeks that we see, and the research supports 10 weeks to learn a new habit. The third thing is that you should be focused on, we talked about big rocks, we talked about that. That's probably the two things I talked about in this session. But once you realize and you start to improve your run form, I can tell you guys, like, you ever go for a run and you're like, oh my God, this isn't fluid, it's stiff, feels like I'm uncoordinated. When you can start tying in run form, it really makes you feel more free-flowing, more free on your runs. And if you can tie that with the anatomy piece, oh, that was the third thing. Sometimes it's just your strength that it needs the biggest focus. But when you go on runs and you really kind of hone in on how you run, you can actually get a huge benefit from working on your run form. The really nice thing about running form too is that you can go out and practice it on every single run, and you can work on it all the time. And as long as you don't overwhelm yourself with stride length, cadence, how are my arms, how's my foot landing, and you just focus on one thing, it's really enjoyable. It's really interesting to see the improvement. So go out on your run today, and hopefully you know what to work on. If you don't, there's a link in this post that will help you figure out what you can work on. But work on your run form. It's a great time to do it. Races are kind of going on. Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple weeks. But I'm going to get out of here before someone sees me talking to myself in my car. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I am going live to cover your questions. And I hope to see you guys sign up for the analysis where we can help you out some more. All right, everyone, have a great day. Bye.